Hey, I'm Pops, and this week's guest is Abomination AJ. And AJ loves animation and cartoons just as much as I do. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different with this week, especially with a Watch Your Story theme. But we're going to try to put in some cartoons and some commercials and little segments, things like that along the way. So tell me what you guys think. It's a little different, something trying, but kind of reflects our perspective and what we enjoy about entertainment at large.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's here. A force so phenomenal. A power of such interdimensional proportions, you'd think it was right out of a movie. It is, and it's only at McDonald's. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and their Ninja Zords have landed. You can get a break, and your kids can get a more phenomenal Ninja Zord and action figure set for just $1.59 when you buy a Happy Meal or large sandwich. Collect them all. They're here to save the world.
Sir? Yes? You gonna eat all those fries?
Have you had your break today?
The Nabisco thing. The Nabisco thing comes on Nabisco things. Cool cookies like Chips Ahoy. Hey, and Oreo. I repeat, and Oreo. You'll find the Nabisco thing on Nabisco things. More to come.
Now you can have your own Lion King, talking Simba.
You're so cute, Simba. He says things from the movie when he squeezes paw. I'm gonna be king. You are? But there's something you have to learn. Pull his tail. Wow, I'm working on my roar. Wow, he is gonna be king. But what about us? Give him a hug. We'll always be together.
Disney's The Lion King talking Simba says lines from the movie when you squeeze him in 5 places.
All right, folks. AJ is back. That's right. AJ's back in the house. And brother, man, I tell you what, thanks for this, but you've been through some crazy stuff lately, man. Good to catch up.
Yes, sir. And thank you for, man, always being there and being a ear, for me to kind of talk to and spread your wisdom, not because you're old or anything, but just because you have experience. So willing to share that with me. I know a lot of us talk on YouTube and on the internet, but rarely, or I would say very few of us actually have relationships outside of the internet. So I'm blessed to have known you, sir.
Well, I wish I could do more and be more. I think if we were closer in geography, it'd be even easier to reach out and lend a hand and be supportive in other ways. And, it's one of those things too, where, especially when you're my age, and I've been pretty transparent about going through divorce and having health problems and financial problems, losing jobs. Just when you put the miles out there and you realize we all basically are dealing with a lot of similar stuff. Most of us have gone through those kinds of things, and we're a little closer on the timeline from things that have happened in your life than they were in mine. But yeah, brother, it's good to get you. I thought we'd good to chat about at least a little bit of it and coming out of the other side of that a little bit for you.
Man, if I was closer to you, I'd be helping you chase some pigs and some goats around and move some hay bales and whatnot.
Yeah, we'd be putting you to work. Mrs. Be careful not to say that too out loud. She'd be like getting you on a plane or something. Next thing you know, you're on some sort of like summer camp, and next thing you know, you're Farmer AJ. That abomination nonsense at the side.
No, farmer is in the works, man. That's why I'm glad I'm out here in Texas. That was my plan. When I moved out here, I said I'm gonna be a black cowboy, and I still have not. I've worked on a farm, but I'm still in that process of having my own. God's going to bless me with that most definitely, and I get to live that lifestyle. And, I got all the dogs, so I'm happy to see them, or I'm excited to see them in that environment and to see how they'll interact with different species, kind of see like what jobs. Like I have a dog. I'm pretty sure he'd be an amazing ranch dog. He just want to protect stuff. Dogs, they want jobs. So to see where some of them, I got a little Kelpie mix, my puppy. So it'd be nice to see her actually be able to do some herding, or just to see how she kind of interprets animals. So yeah, I'm ready for that.
We came with our foo-foo dogs, so we have one that's 14, and sadly he's probably near the end of his run. Mm-hmm. And I think my mother-in-law still lives with us, but I think that when that era comes to an end, we will probably look at a big farm dog, look at a big type of working dog that can be with the other animals now. Because they like and my Yeah, they like to work. They all have their certain thing. The other two are foo dogs, but they're like emotional dogs. They're in your lap
Yeah.
support, emotional support. One went through training for that. My wife actually took him into nursing homes and schools and things like that, and be with the kids and just kind of give them company. And the nursing home thing was really really cool because people are just so lonely and sad there. So yeah, dogs definitely have their place for sure in doing that kind of thing. Well, yeah, we could use a working dog for sure.
Do you know what type of working dog? Like, what type of work are you looking for a dog to
She would
perform?
she would probably look for like a cattle dog, a border collie or something like that. She'd look for something like that that's super super smart and just they come with that instincts to know how to herd animals. And
Okay.
I wouldn't be struggling to move the goats from point A to point B like I do now because the goats are the worst. I mean,
Hmm.
they're like they don't really require much. They're just hard on everything, and whenever they're in their heat or whatever, they're impossible to work with. So that's when the dogs are
Hmm.
super useful. So that would be super cool. But we have donkeys, so they can't be in with the donkeys. The donkeys were not big fans of donkeys, not big fans of dogs. So, but it keeps the
Okay.
coyotes away.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I heard donkeys. Is it llamas or I think llamas over alpacas? But one of those they like actually help to protect. As far as farm dogs, I mean the border collie for sure. That's like the peak, the perfect farm dog. But I was interested in kelpies, so that is another breed that is a herding breed. I like the look of them, and bosserones. So that is another breed that I love and I would like to have in the future when I actually have that set up. But as far as those herders that have I want to say like a tendency to actually protect or like deter predators at the same time, as opposed to something like a Pyrenees. Where some of them, if they have the mentality for it, then they will try to fight, but they're more so of just kind of big dogs to just kind of hang amongst the sheep and the herd to so when predators see them, they're like, oh, okay, then I don't want to go mess with that big thing. But usually people will have, or from what I've seen, they'll have like Pyrenees, but then they'll have some other dog like the Congos or the Anatolian Shepherds or Bosserones that'll actually go fight something if need be.
Yeah, we have a friend that they have the Pyrenees, and my wife really likes him. He's super super
Hmm.
smart, and it's kind of like that movie Pig, Babe, right? Get him up, and he just knows what he has to do to move them
Hmm.
around. I don't know how well he'd be at fighting anyone, but he knows his job. Uh,
Exactly.
we only
Yeah.
have yeah, we've only had one coyote sort of like really close to where the animals are, and it kind of you can see we because we were grabbing our weapons to make sure we could fend him off if we needed to, and you could follow the tracks. He came out. He probably would have been downwind enough to know that's where the donkeys are because the tracks went forward a little bit and then right back into the woods. So I'm like, okay, so he knew that's probably not where he wanted to go. He came out the wrong
Yeah.
area, and we could hear him moving around. We lost him into the woods. He hasn't come back. Now there are coyotes around, but that'd be the only major predator that we would have to really to worry about and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, oh, we had you down here, man, brother. She puts me to work every day. I get a good workout. I don't have to go to the gym too much. I do pretty well early and late every day. Summer's really sweaty, so I guess I definitely work up the work burning off some carbs, and I don't eat after a certain time, so I'm definitely fasting about 12 hours a day, if not at least 10 hours a day. So it definitely keeps me from gaining any weight. I don't know that I lose weight or I'm dieting per se, but I eat cleaner and
Yeah.
it keeps me active and hopefully gray hair notwithstanding, I can be around for a few more minutes. So we'll see, God willing.
Minutes, man. Okay, hours. Let's get some hours out of you.
We'll see. Well, hopefully, till my wife comes home. I want to hear about them. They're at a baby shower, and I love to hear about how that story went. So it'd be good to know.
No.
So
Okay, I thought you were talking about life, and you were equating like years to the lack of
yeah,
years to minutes.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but no, it's got to be when you're in that storm because you've met so many people through YouTube and you're doing your thing. You're churning along. You're doing content, whatever. But things at home start to get unstable. It gets frustrating. Uh, Talk a little bit about how people can deal with that a little bit. Like you coming out the other side, it got to be easier to kind of maybe offer up some advice for people to how to navigate that a little bit.
Man, I would say definitely when it was happening to me, a lot of mental stuff, man. I thought I was mentally strong, or way stronger than what I have been. But you know, you're that guy until things actually go down. Then it really tests who you are. And when my relationship, when that ended, I was, yeah, mentally, man, it took a toll on me. But I didn't want to dwell. I had to make sure that my mind stayed right, because I'm out here, you know, I moved to a whole nother state. I'm out here on my own. I have no family. I have like nobody out here to like really lean on or support or yada yada yada. So, you know, I tell my dog training clients, you have to, like, dogs live in the moment. Okay, they don't necessarily hold grudges. And every day is like, it's just a new day for them. This could be every new day can be the best day ever, and be just so valuable, so filled with purpose, or get to do a lot of cool stuff. So, you know, as it was happening, they didn't, like, they were just the same. It was just like, okay, well, all right, we're here. What are we going to do about it? So I had to definitely learn from them and adopt, which I thought I already had that mindset, but it was cool to have them as, and Caesar Milan talks about that a lot. We can learn so much from nature. And they were here before us, so they have the experience, they have the time on us. So again, just seeing them be in the moment of, well, mom, the other owner or whatever is gone, but we're still here. So again, we have to make the most of it. So again, I had to think about that, and not focus on what wasn't there, but more so appreciate and focus on what was here, and make sure I kept myself together for those people that's rooting for me, those dogs that are looking to me for support as their leader, to know not let things affect me so much to where things don't get done. So doing that, that helped a whole lot, and as well as keeping my mind sharp, focused as best as I could. Substances, I'll say that I wasn't taking in any outside substances that would alter my mind, because I feel like if I had started or if I indulged, then it probably was going to take me to the areas of like some addiction, and again, I just didn't think that was going to work out for me, so I had to cut that out. And I started doing the jujitsu. So I was already working out, but I've always been into martial arts. So I did Taekwondo back in Tennessee, and here I had, like, I stay right down the street from this jujitsu gym, and I'd always been thinking about, man, I want to get into that. And then this was the time where I was just like, all right, forget it. Let me just make it happen. And it's an amazing gym, and they're very cool people. They let me come in and just kind of watch, you know, around the end of December until I got my money right. And I was like, okay, I can just start off the new year in January and, you know, start fresh and start that journey. So I did that, and those people have been very helpful. I also, like, I didn't play sports growing up. Definitely not a military guy. I don't think I'd do well in a setting like that, but I've never had that camaraderie, like that brotherhood. I've never had that. So I was like, okay, well, this is the time where I think I really need it the most, or I at least want to see what it's about, and have some other like male figures around me. And there are females that do jujitsu. There's women that do jujitsu as well. But I wanted to be around, instead of me beating myself up at home mentally, I wanted to go into a place to where I could be beat up, but with the goal of tempering me and making me better. And it didn't allow my mind to dwell, because I was more concerned about not getting choked out, you know, in the gym. So I couldn't really think about things that were going on in life if I wanted to survive, and if I wanted to learn, okay, why am I losing, and how do I not continue to lose? At least right now at this stage, because I'm still a white belt, how do I not lose as quickly as the last time? How can I last in this fight a little longer? So a lot of the stuff that I was learning on the jiu-jitsu mat, I'm applying in real life. A lot of the stuff with dogs and nature and dog training, I'm applying to my real life. So yeah, man, we can't predict the future, but I definitely believe God puts us on the path, and those obstacles are there to mold us into a stronger warrior, so that you're able to better handle things when they do come your way and you don't instantly fold. I hope that answered your question, but that's what I'm going through right now. And YouTube, I will say that, man. There's a social aspect to this, like I was just talking to you, or like I was saying about the having relationships on and off the internet. I've met a lot of amazing people through doing YouTube that wouldn't have been in my life. I wouldn't have crossed paths with you guys if I would have stayed in my mind of not pursuing it, not trying, or the fear of failure. That would have kept me from having y'all in my life during this time period. So being able to stream, being able to take my mind off of things, cool people in the chat, watching you guys' streams, and it really feels like when people are talking about movies, entertainment. I'm not a real political person, so not necessarily that type of stuff, but just probably talking about something happening in the world. When you're in the chat or if you're on the panel, we're all in on the conversation. So I'm not going to say it's an amazing substitute for having somebody in real life, but it at least it's something. And it is being able to speak to another human, which I think the not being able to do that affects a lot of people. For example, not to go into that, but the whole situation where the world was shut down or halted, for instance, and to see what happened with a lot of people who weren't okay with being alone and didn't know how to handle that and not being able to talk to people. So, no man is an island. Like, it's cool being a lone wolf and I don't need anybody, but we really do need others to some degree. So yeah, man, that was very important. And then talking to y'all online, but then being able to talk to y'all outside of the internet and realize, oh, okay, this is a genuine person. They genuinely have my best interests at heart. So there you go. I'll stop right there. It was a lot.
Hey, it's Pops. Let's jump in that time machine and enjoy some old commercials with me right now.
Terminator!
Robotic endoskeleton, the BioFlesh Regenerator. Activate!
Now you can create your own Terminator with the BioFlesh Regenerator.
I'm back to protect.
Yeah? Think again.
Battle damage. Must return to BioFlesh Regenerator.
Add flesh compound.
Activate!
You are in control.
Terminator created.
I'm back!
The BioFlesh Regenerator comes with 2 robotic figures and BioFlesh compound.
Well done, Bruce Lee. But those men were flabby and weak.
Whew, Karate Kid?
Kid? Ha, I'm 35. You lack focus. My master will teach you.
Arnold, from Happy Days?
Lipton Brisk Iced Tea. Where did you get that?
Editing mistake. In my favor. Brisk baby! Only fool fight man with Brisk.
Get this! At school I found this magic lamp, and I wished for Disney's Aladdin for my Sega Genesis. It's like the movie. I got to battle sword-flashing thieves, and nasty palace guards, and ride a flying carpet. And I still have 2 more wishes. Prove it!
Sega Genesis and Disney's Aladdin game cartridge, each sold separately.
All right, now let's get back to the conversation.
I know.
I think that you're dancing around all the things of advice that I would say to somebody, right? You're talking about focus on something that can give you some distraction, some positive distraction. You actually did 2 layers with that because you were trying to focus on your physical health, getting active, doing the jujitsu, interacting with other people, using that as a mental challenge as well, reinforcing life lessons and staying active with the dogs and the responsibilities that you had there at home, leaning into other interactions, whether it be through streaming and even internet relationships and dynamics that you've met. It's better than just isolation. You end up in the self-pity mode, right? If you allow all this world to kind of cave in on you, because it's easy to do. It's easy to do. I know I did. I know the first time I went through sort of I'll say I went through a divorce, and it was I felt guilt and shame. I was like, I'm a statistic now, and it took me a while to really just kind of own how selfish I had been anyway, how selfish I was for not being more honest about my feeling, not respecting the relationship dynamic as well, allowing it to sort of destroy itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while, and it's good to know that in 2024 there are so many more tools that people have and opportunities to reach out and find other folks. Now, that may not be easy for people who are already sheltered from that. I think that it's still a problem, especially with folks that are very fearful of technology. They don't want to put their face out there. They don't want to do those things. And you've been blessed to be able to sort of had your feet in these circles. You've met so many people outside in real life anyway, to lean into, those kind of conversations and keep, I don't want to say it's socializing, but at least some sort of interaction with other people.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. I mean, you said something. Oh yeah, the people who have a lot of people do have a fear of like putting themselves out there. And I'm not saying everybody needs to, be a content creator. I definitely think by us being made in God's image, I think with that came the ability to create, to make something out of nothing, or at least see something and have a plan and have it to become what you want it to. And I think humans, if we don't find like a hobby or something that we can create, I think that's where we truly bring value to the world. And if a person doesn't have that, I'm not saying like they're doomed, but I still feel like they're like not complete. And
I'm gonna tweak it, and I'm going to stack, or maybe just stack on top of it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be in a create state in their life.
Yeah.
But there's always a purpose. Now, the problem with purpose is people think so big and grand on that. And we had this problem with one of our churches where when I was there, and we had someone come in and kind of delineate people into people that like to serve and people who like to organize and people who like to teach. And I think hopefully what came away from that, what definitely has been ingrained in me is, one, there are many type of hats that you can put on for different type of purposes and different type of reason. And those can be completely different at different times in your life, right? So at one point, I mean, my wife and I we were teaching, I was preaching, I was writing. It was a lot of different things that was happening. And then there's a time where we didn't have to do a lot of that kind of stuff. Other people could do it. I'm watching people that are retiring and not having a good sense of what are you going to do with all of that time? And I don't look, if you're planning on retiring, is just sitting around in your chair or sitting around in your fishing boat, that's a lot of not doing something. And not doing something that is, I don't want to say you have to be helping other people, but you should be, I think what God's purpose for you is that you are there as a vessel of him towards the world, whatever that looks like. Maybe it is creation. Maybe it is actively doing something. Maybe you're a painter or a writer or a content creator, or maybe it's just making phone calls or sending emails or just reaching out to people. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Hey, I don't know about you, but I love that there are always, it seems like, similar faces that will run through videos or things I do. They're making comments, or like even they just put emojis in. It's an interaction that lets you know that that person's there and they're interacting. I think there's a lot more value in that than people think. And I think that's what you're also pointing to, is that whether you believe with our faith or not, the fact that you're still here means you should be doing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I said create, and I didn't mean, I know everybody's not a creator, but our goal is to bring value to others. And so I'm just saying, like, find whatever that is. And like, animals create, but they create out of necessity. Whereas like, oh, I have to build a nest, or I have to find a den, something like that, or I have to collect these things to attract a mate. So they'll create out of necessity, or like a beaver, this is a dam, this is for protection. But when I say we're able to look at something and kind of make something out of nothing, well, like you were saying, like somebody making phone calls, a human can come in and see, okay, this place is disorganized, and actually plan. We have the capability of, I don't know what the word is, but I think cultivate is, but like to make better what's around us. And then So I mean, definitely that bringing value to others in so many ways. And I think, yeah, people should find that. As far as when I was in a content creation, or as far as YouTubers, no, not everybody is going to be a YouTuber, but you will see a lot of times in the chat where somebody's like, hey, I've been lurking for a while and I've built up the courage to like comment, or I like the people in here and I finally want to interact. And I say this a lot because it's funny, because like I wanted to be on these panels talking to people and I was like, okay, well, you have to be a YouTuber to do that. But as I get further in, I realize, no, you have people that are just from the chat, and you have cool content creators who are just like, hey, you want to come on? Like, you got a mic, like, let's talk, let's have that conversation. So a lot of people don't even have to do the content creation stuff, but just being social and I would say wanting the best for that content creator, or wanting to see people succeed, or just having something valuable to add to the conversation. Then you'll see those people who are just in the chat actually be on these panels and get that social interaction, which they probably never thought that they would. They probably thought they'll just be somebody in the chat. So that's good to see for those people. And, you don't have to have that responsibility of creating content or trying to put a video out and, oh, this video has performed better than the last, or, this channel has to look like this, or I got to have this so many subscribers at this point in time. It's like they don't have their stress. They just here for the good conversation. And we can go on about our days. Like, that's good for people.
Yeah, I think there's so many roles in the tribe, right? We go back to our roots of the tribe, and there's so many roles to unpack that the people just can't see. And in this space, I would say there's a lot more value for. And the problem is we don't really have a great way to put up a help board. You know what I mean? I would love to find someone who would, take on that responsibility of doing more scheduling and booking conversations like this one. You know what I mean? It's time consuming sometimes to keep track of who you're talking to, tracking people down, making the schedules meet, getting all that done. Obviously, I'm blessed with a great producer that takes care of my one live show every week called Talk Hard, where Chris Persia handles, a bulk of saying hello to everyone, make sure they're greeted. He'll throw out links. He'll do different things as the management with that part, but it's not like he's interested in coming on camera like at all. But there's a lot of value in all of that. I think there's also people who have been blessed to have editors, thumbnail creators, things of that nature. I'm trying to dive my toe in a little bit of this AI world a little bit, trying to figure out how to hopefully stress test what I think good tools would be to help people like us to go, all right, well, if you do this, it'll make your tags for you. If you do this, it'll do this for you. So I think that's where we're going. If we get help from people, and then it can just steamroll on itself. And I think, like you were saying, it would surprise people to know that your most of the chats and stuff are pretty friendly and chill. Like every now and again, you might run into something, but I don't see that very much. That is a minute portion of what I experience on here. Yeah, I don't know.
If you get involved in, I would say, causing friction, not even causing friction, but being involved in it, like you don't shy away from it, you do have times where another content creator will, like, I'm not going to say they'll necessarily send their followers into somebody else's chat, but, they do what they want, and they want to go out the way to protect or defend their favorite content creator. So you will see some of that, but again, that's not the actual chat. Those are infiltrators who've come in to like cause chaos. But besides that, no, there's not
usually there's a door that opens for that, right? So, I mean, I think you ran into this a little bit with the whole Ripaverse thing and some of that kind of stuff. Is the door kind of opened for dissenters to be, I don't want to say welcomed, but it seemed like an opportunity for people to be more vocal about what their dissents were. And then it kind of snowballed into things from there. I know you experienced that personally. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. What was it? Is that a fair assessment of what you went through a little
bit? Yeah. And that's why I said, if you don't shy away from like discourse, then others will take it upon themselves to, oh, well, I don't like this person's idea, or they don't hate the person that I hate, so I'm going to go and cause trouble. I definitely like to keep it on the panel. Let's just talk about it and then be done. But so yeah, those things will happen. But again, man, those are like few and far between. Like yeah.
Of interaction. And usually, that's what this situation's going to be based on the tenor of the show or the conversation and things.
Yeah.
So, what would be something you think that you would do differently as far as your mental state in like the recovery phase? Like, what would be some of the things that you would say to someone now who's just finding out a relationship just ended or a job just ended or something financial hit them or they're really feeling low right now? What would be one of the things that you say, listen, I wish I had done it. I wish I had done this sooner, or I wish I had done this differently?
Man, I will say God should smack me in the face right now, because when you were talking about things to keep myself together, I did not mention him at all. And getting back involved in church and in the Bible was a big that was something that I saw that I needed to do. So that, and plus everything else that I mentioned, like, I think him, first of all, being blessed to be the person that I am, the mind that I do have. I've always had that relationship with him. I would always talk to him, but I don't think I was truly seeking him like I should have. And he wasn't at the forefront of everything that I did. I felt like he would order my steps, but it's like, all right, you pointed me in the right direction, God, I got it now. As opposed to kind of like having him right next to me and walking. It was like, all right, you can stay over there now. I got it from here. So doing that, and as well as not only that personal relationship that I sought, it was, and I'm not a member of this church, but I go there, and I do this Bible study, like a men's meeting in addition to Bible study with some other males. So I was really seeking male companionship, I see, during this time. But it's just good to be around, men, because we're going to go through the same things. We're going to have those same struggles, like women, for instance, not necessarily just in the ending of my relationship, but just like not pursuing women as much, and or being purposeful with your pursuit of a woman, and not it being just something like to please the body, but more so finding somebody that's actually right for you, that could be, what God put in your life. Not every person is going to be that, but you have to, figure these things out. So making sure I'm doing that the right way, and you're not living this.
Now he's getting into that area that I like to talk about. I'm like,
oh, okay.
Now we're getting good.
So
No, this is one of the things that men don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Men don't want to talk about it. Like, I mean, look, first off, in a church in and of itself, it's like pulling teeth to get them to even mention the word sex, talk about sex.
Exactly. Yep.
But to admit that men have such a massive porn addiction, to admit that this swipe right culture we're in is creating this massive divide in society. I mean, I was reading some of the statistics, and it's shocking, AJ. Like, we're talking like massive numbers of 18 and younger are virgins, but then it starts going into what is it like at 30, and you're like, holy cow, we're creating this massive divide, because it's the elite pretty people, they're swiping right for each other, and everyone else is just kind of left in the cold, because it's like who's available. And then computers and porn and the shutdowns and everything else has destroyed personal relationships and this concept of dating, and the Me Too factor in this equation. Yeah, this is a conversation that is very complicated and not great for necessarily the topic of my channel. That's the reason I don't talk about it very often. But I feel for you, brother, because it's great to know that you've found yourself in a circle of other men who at least could try to counsel you in a proper way. Of my biggest advice, hopefully they're saying similar stories, just take your time, man. There's no reason to rush. Just take your time and shop where you want to, shop where they're going to be. Like, this is, I tell men and women, it's like, where is the person going to be that you would want you? And are you being the person that they would want? It's like this dynamic that we have to kind of work out for ourselves.
Man, I'll say because I think everybody has like a vice. Everybody has a struggle that they have to, the guy put in front of them and they just got to overcome. And I think mine definitely is like women or sex. So when me and my ex, when we would, and this was like early 20s because we were together for a long time, but we'd go in our like break up or whatever. I would instantly run to some woman or try to pursue that. Like I was trying to fill some hole. And that happened often enough to where I was like, okay, there's definitely an issue there that I need to work on. So this time I made it my mission to not run to another woman, but to just chill and get myself together. So I didn't start like going out with women or, being really social until like it happened in December. So like maybe a month or two ago. So almost a whole year before I kind of got back out there. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, that's good. You're definitely not the same person you were back then, but also that was early 20s. So, we real hot during that time, but it's like, let me just chill and just being more mature about decision making and what you go after. 'Cause everything that looks good is not good for you. So that has also been something that has been keeping my mind where it needs to be.
I mean, I wish I could tell you, yeah, you're not alone. That was literally what happened. My first divorce, they just led me right into someone else. And I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, I'm not going to undo the world, and they know the truth now, but I have 2 kids because of it, but it wouldn't have been a relationship that would have lasted.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was trying to do the right thing, make her my second wife, but it was doomed from the get-go. We were never going to last. And it was, and I paid a lot for that because it was a mess. And my Mrs. Pops, my current wife, has said for years, I think she said for sure, I don't think we fought at all except for over your ex. Like it was the ex and the kid situation. So definitely have that vulnerability of needing someone else and running into someone else. I was definitely, again, in my 20s, like you said, it was that sort of era of our lives where we're just not mature enough. And I would say that too. I was just so immature. I was so selfish about my needs and what I wanted, and made the world worse in some ways. But the world's been blessed because of my kids that came out of that. I think that is the hardest thing for most people, not just men, but especially men who are seeking sex a lot of times to numb the pain of companionship and feel good in the moment and those kinds of things. So it is it's a lot to say to make at least to that first phase of, all right, I didn't race back out there, make that kind of thing. Now I can take a pause and figure out how I want to focus my energy and where to go. So for sure.
Yeah, man. I don't have children. If I would have been out there way more, the chances of me getting them would have been, drastically increased. But a lot of people are. I would say I lucked up because we weren't legally married, so I didn't have to go through any of that type of stuff, any legal issues or fighting for like property or any of that like tangible stuff. And we had no children, so that's something that I'm also blessed to where that's not really a factor. I don't have some broken, I'm not affecting a kid with this, man. So it's like we do complain like, oh, why me? Why is this happening? But then I also got to look at, well, it could have been a whole lot worse. And I'm not saying a child would be worse, but I'm saying at least I don't have all of those obstacles to have to fight. So it makes things easier for me. It gives me so much more hope that like, okay, it's just me and animals to move on. Like, you can do this.
Now be polite when you meet Mrs. Vanderlug, and do as you're told.
Mrs. Vanderlug!
It's time to have some fun.
Come on, down, get cheeses and have a ball. Let's do everything. Do as you're told. Let's jump that away. Jump it, go. Play one more. Jump it, cheeses.
Did you mind Mrs. Vanderlug? They did everything they were told.
Where a kid can be a kid.
To help them in their never-ending battle against the evil Decepticons, the Autobots create a new breed of robot, Dinobots.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Dinobots.
sold separately from Hasbro.
Coming fall 1998. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. It's Scooby-Doo's first feature-length movie. Available only on video from Warner Brothers Family Entertainment.
Because of someone's probably going through that phase right now, like what we've been talking about, whether it be a relationship dynamic, divorce, finance, whatever it is, that type of thing. And you've gone through different layers of this in different ways, but what would be something we could say to them to say, listen, take my advice, do this first or don't do this first. Kind of like, let me save you some time here. Focus on this, don't focus on that. Trying to shorten their timeline on some of that recovery.
Man, I would definitely say in my situation, I feel like there were signs there that I should have left a long time ago. But again, trying to hold on to having somebody there kept me in a situation that wasn't good for me. And I think I would say on one hand, it kept me out of trouble because since I was focused on one woman, I wasn't out there with all types of women getting into trouble. But at the same time, I think being with that person who, again, a lot of times wasn't the best for me, it allowed me to be distracted way more than what I should have. But at the same time, and I'm kind of in the process, I'm going to do all of this stuff, with myself, talking it out. The advice I would give a person, I'm selfish. I know that. I think that can be a good thing because if you're not in a place to where you're good and you're together, then you can't really help others around you. If you're not in a position enough to be of value to other people. If you don't love yourself, then I don't think you can love anybody else effectively. So I will say be selfish and take care of yourself. For instance, I found my hobbies. Like I kind of knew, that's another reason why I'll say I'm blessed. I knew I had a good idea of who I was or what I was here to do early on. So the YouTube thing, I love talking to people. Man, I wanted to be a child actor growing up. I would watch, all of these like sitcoms, all of these shows. And I was like, I want to entertain people. I want to make people laugh, or just give them something to watch and enjoy. So I think that's what helped me kind of ease into YouTube. So figure out what you're good at and pursue that. And what you initially think is going to be, probably not be that, but it'll evolve into something or you'll figure it out. Like when I went to art college, I went for animation. And I was like, no, this is way more work than what I actually want to do. Animators aren't necessarily designing characters. They're taking other people's designs and they're making a move. Now you could be fortunate enough to where you can design the character and do the animation. But I was like, okay, I'm more into illustration. I just want to design cool stuff and somebody else can do the work of like animating. But that's what a big company now, we're more independent. So I will have to take on some of that stuff myself, probably. But figure out what you're good at, go after it and let it evolve organically to figure out, to really hone in on what it is that you want to do. So that and the dogs, like, we are supposed to be stewards of the earth. So I was blessed with dogs, man, from a young age. And my first memory of a dog, I was a child, I was a toddler, and my cousin came over with this Rottweiler. Now, when I say cousin, it was my dad's cousin, so he was an adult. And they went over into the room and they're playing Madden, the football. And he left this huge Rottweiler in the room with a child. But it worked out for me. I was touching this dog. I was laying on this dog. I was on the floor with this dog and she was chill. I guess she liked kids. She was just relaxed. And I was like, oh man, this is the best feeling in the world. So ever since then, I've loved dogs. I've never had a bad interaction with the dog. Nothing that made me be like, no, dogs are terrible. I never want to see those things. I never want to be around those things. Because I hear people with those stories, man. And I'm just like, man, that sucks that you had to go through that. Like, and it just turned you off from this amazing creature for the rest of your life. And now you're so anxious or hesitant to like even be around them. Like, that's terrible. When we are here to tame nature and to be a part of it and have them kind of work for us. In a way, I'm not saying just like whip them like a lion in a circus or something, but like we were talking about dogs with the livestock. It's like These creatures help. They complement our lives, and we make their lives better. Like it's a relationship. There's give and take. So yeah, man, find out what you're good at and pursue that. Let it evolve, and don't get so married to one idea because it could definitely change, and you'll set yourself up and work out. Definitely work out. Like work on your body. Move. I'm not necessarily hit the gym, get the weights, get buff, but like just be active, be able to move. And it's funny because I don't have kids. I'm 31 and I still don't have kids. At this point, I'm like, I don't even know if I should try anymore. I wasn't trying, but I'm saying I don't even know if I should just even like have that to be a goal of mine. But I've always been active and pursued art because I want to I want to keep that kid in me. So when I do have children, I'm not shooing them away or putting some animation on so that they're just like occupied while I go do adult things. It's like I want to sit with my kids. I want to be in on the conversation. I want to, engage with them in something that they enjoy. And I've worked with kids for a lot of years. And early part of last year and the year before that, I was a teacher. And I told you about this. I worked at a farm school. And the fact that I was playing tag with these kids just lit their world up. And they're like, wow, we've never seen an adult play tag, play hide and seek. Like, oh my goodness, you can do a cartwheel. And I'm like, just me playing with children just added so much to their lives. And I was like, man, this is amazing. But a lot of people don't because they allow themselves to just get lazy, don't move around, not active. And
I know, and God forbid what other people might say about you. One of my fondest memories. I don't know. So I don't know if you've ever seen this. Maybe people can Google it on their own. But we would play Hungry Hungry Hippos. So they have all these little balls that they put on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the creeper, where you roll under your car. You can lay on this thing. This thing.
Okay.
It rolls under the car to change oil or whatever. So we had these creepers.
Yeah, people working. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got these. We brought these creepers in. You could lay on your belly, and you had a little net, and they put these balls in the middle, and we were playing Hungry Hungry Hippo, where someone has your legs and they're rolling you out. The fact that I did that with them, it was
yes.
I had everyone participating, because you would have people who don't want to do it. The girls don't want to do it. Blah blah blah. They don't look back. The old man will do it.
Yeah.
How could you not want to do it? So yeah, I do want to go back to what you is so smart.
Okay.
I think you were trying to say being selfish exactly, but I was going to about focusing on yourself and preparing yourself and being ready, because I always like to use the airplane analogy. When you're on a plane and they talk about the disaster and the little masks are going to fall down, and it says put one on yourself first and then help your child or help others. You have to be ready for the crisis. You have to be able to be prepared. You have to be ready to handle the things that are coming. And even when these crises and these storms are happening around you, whether it be relationships and finances and all that, you still have to navigate the world. The world is going to keep turning. That's good and bad. So you got to know that as bad as things are, the world keeps turning. They do have an expiration date before they're over and it gets better. And also know, no matter how things are, there could be other crazy storms and problems that are out ahead of you. So you have to kind of hang in there and be ready to ride the next storm, because it could be right on the corner. So I'm glad we kind of...
man. As long as you're alive, you can fight. So
yeah, that's right. We got to keep going. We didn't really get a chance to. I'll try to remember. I'm going to write down and put a link there about our previous conversation, because we were meant to talk more about animation and we didn't really talk too much about animation. And you're so inspiring when you've talked about some of these shows and just intricate detail. Now, you've always really been into animation first and foremost, compared to a lot of live action stuff and that kind of thing. What is one of the things that you've seen in the last couple of years? Because for me, I think I'm in this hiatus where I've got the, 2019 through the pandemic. I'm still in the middle of Me Too stuff. I'm still in the middle of all this, where entertainment still hasn't redirected. I would say that I've had, I think proportionally, I've had a few more better things. I've had some things that are a little bit better, but I still have a lot of holdover stuff, right? Especially from the bigger the company. If it's Disney, Marvel, or whatever, it's going to take longer. That stuff's been in the works for so long, we're still going to get grabbed. But I do think there's more things. On the animation side, do you see anything that seems like it's better or worse, about the same? Where you think on some of that kind of stuff? Has it gotten any better?
I think it's still the same. I pretty much checked out of the mainstream altogether. I find myself just watching YouTube videos of, and I'll say this a lot, and I try to preach this to my chat, to my audience, but I don't think I have this need to be entertained. Like, I guess we do, but I'm not looking for something new to always consume. So I will look on YouTube at like Cartoon Network from this year, 1993, 94, 95, 96 or whatever, or Nickelodeon or Fox Kids or Toon Disney, stuff like that, man. And I'll just throw that stuff on and it sends me on a nostalgia trip. Like, a lot of them have commercials and it just take you back to those good old days. And I see a lot of people watching all this stuff and they're just always angry and they're complaining about something. I'm like, man, I will point out, I think the social engineering that's definitely happening, the pushing of agendas. Like, yeah, I'll call that stuff out, but I'm not watching this stuff. It's just like, oh, I see it, it's there, cool, I'm not touching it. And then I'll go back over here and, me and my people will talk about old stuff that we used to watch. And you do this as well. You're not the complain tuber. People throw these terms around that I really don't use, but I know what they mean when they say them. But that's where I'm at with it, where I think I would say we saw a need or a spot that needed to be filled. And I think we are trying to do that with our YouTube channels and give people a place to where they can come and hang out and like reminisce and talk about stuff that they enjoy, as opposed to always talking about the stuff that we know we're going to hate. So yeah, I don't want to sit here and talk about hours of why something is terrible. I'd rather talk for hours.
I mean, you know my brand, I put stuff on the other side of the scale all the time, even to my detriment. Like, I'll have because I get people calling me out. I had someone call me out. They were trying to call me out. I didn't actually do what they claimed, so they're not really going to get anywhere with me. I kind of laugh, but it was I clearly have paid for subscribers. My channel's clearly not that big because I don't have the views and I don't have the whatevers and I'm like, obviously they don't know how this works. If you start talking about 1950s movies and you start talking about cartoons that are not in the lexicon right now, I know that I'm not getting a ton of views on that, guys. It's not rocket science. I know the I could obviously, do hate watch videos, and I could obviously start talking about Taylor Swift and whatever, and try to ride the daily wave of whatever the algorithm tells me.
Lizzo.
I would be so miserable talking about it. I'm with you. I'm down the rabbit hole right now watching. I know this is a 1970s show you probably haven't even heard of. It's called Fantasy Island. So it's this 1970s show with Ricardo Montalban, who's this Mexican actor who played the villain in Star Trek Wrath of Khan. He's this famous Mexican actor. This little TV show about you go to the island for your fantasy, and each episode has like 2 different character and stories. And we ended up down this rabbit hole with my wife. She's ditched. She doesn't want to watch it with me. It's more dramatic and darker than she remembered, and I kind of agree. But I can just throw that on. I don't have to pay close attention to some of these episodes. I don't have to, dial into the drama or whatever for a review or whatever. It's just on. I just do it. And I'm with you. I get like the nostalgia bug. I'm like, okay, that makes me kind of want to watch this. Makes me kind of want to watch that. Makes me kind of want to watch this. So yeah, I get that. I feel you, man.
Yeah, man, just seeing the commercials. So that's like a time capsule, seeing what was allowed, back then, or the places some commercials would go. Or almost crossing the line to some degree, but it's like we're just having fun. But seeing that in the shows, like there's a I don't know what to call them, a meme or what. The internet is. I'm a boomer in a younger guy's body, but there was like a meme or a post that I'm seeing go around where people were saying, I miss the era of cartoons where the viewership was so good that they would have an episode just about it being hot outside. And then like everybody's just miserable, they're hot. And then like the kids would like break the fire hydrants, have the water spraying everywhere, or go on some scheme to, I don't know, break into a water park. Just do stuff like that where it's just like fun. It's not like the MCU, for example, where they take themselves so seriously that every episode is it is connected to the next. Like it's this linear story that they didn't really think twice about. They just claim that it's smart and know what it's doing. But the writing and the execution proves otherwise. But it's like, man, what about with cartoons with just fun cartoon? You don't have to watch the last episode to know what's happening in this episode. It's just a good time.
That is so true. I miss Saturday morning cartoons. I know that probably predates you at least a little bit, but
it doesn't.
It was so massive growing up, and I have no problem. This is part of the problem is because we've lost Saturday morning cartoons. They aren't making content that has an audience. This is one of my biggest complaints with X-Men '97. I took a lot of heat for this take because I'm like, I'm even liking the show. I get it, folks. I know why you guys are liking the show, but who's the audience for? You're a bunch of people who are going to buy what $50 action figures. Like, no kids can watch this. It's way too dark and edgy for them. It's what you're not. It's not selling you a comic book because they're not telling comic book stories. They're like taking pieces of things and telling their own story. The original series was clearly marketing. It was a marketing department to sell comic books and toys. Batman animated series was selling toys. It was like, this was what because the parents, I don't even know. I don't even know this. I was too young to even know this was happening. But the parents that were objecting to like G.I. Joe and whatever because it was brainwashing us to want those toys and whatever. Notice, by the way, they didn't complain about the fact they were all brainwashed to want McDonald's, Pop-Tarts, and cereals because everything had those 3 commercials in them. I don't know. Do you know how many commercials? I mean, I literally am like a vintage commercial collector. I used to put them in more of my videos, especially when I did my Saturday videos.
Pops, I truly think I got that idea from you.
I have hundreds of commercials. I have hundreds of them, and
I truly think I got that idea from you. I was watching your streams, your videos, and I saw those, and I was like, man, this is a cool idea. But then these channels that I'm telling you about, where they would show all of these old shows, and you'll have commercial breaks, and I would sit there and screen record, and I'd get those commercials from them, and I'll play that on like when me and Ego was doing our show, I would play those commercials, and then my show at night, I'll play those commercials. So it's like, man, it really does something for people, and it's just so cool to see people in the chat like, oh man, I remember this, or I had this toy, I had this game, or I ate this cereal, man. And like I play a Blockbuster commercial, and then just see conversations about Blockbuster, man. I'm like, that's why we're here where we are now. And all of these adults that are complaining about stuff, I'm like, okay, you're complaining about it. It's like you want your thing, but you're not realizing that you're not necessarily the target audience anymore. These things are, or they were, children properties that we've just grown with. Now we're older and we're still attached to them, but we were attached to them when we were children. So while we're complaining about this stuff being changed, the children, unless people are showing them older stuff or like some, something that's actually good and like wholesome, like some Ninja Turtles or something like that, then these kids are growing up thinking that this stuff is legit, like this is their standard. So in their eyes, there might be some little girls that love Ray Skywalker. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think that's 100% true. I do think there will be some Ray Skywalker fans and whatever. And I have said, I know this is an awful take. Put a pin in it. 20 years from now, there's a sad chance that freaking trilogy can age well, because that's how bad things are on right now. Because there's so much disregard for IP right now. But I couldn't agree more, because my grandkids come. And there is no going to the Disney cabinet anymore. Like literally, they're not even in the general rotation anymore. The Disney content has got its own cabinet, and I would say within the last 3 years, they've watched 2 things out of that cabinet, and one of them was like the shorts montage thing. It's like a disc that has just all the Disney shorts on them that were in the front of their movies or whatever. There's not actually a movie, all these shorts. They watch all this retro stuff, to the point where I even got them to watch. Let's see. It wasn't Milla Gorilla. It was one of these old school Hanna-Barbera Droopy Dog type shows or something like that. They didn't want to watch it. Oh, Jabberjaw. It was Jabberjaw, the talking shark. And Pops, I don't know. And literally after 10 minutes, they're glued with their eyes this big. And they watch like 3 or 4 episodes. Same thing with we watched the Ant and the Aardvark one. Same thing. It's like these were so good. There is morality in there. It's a lot about playing nice. You don't get what you want. Don't be selfish. Don't be mean. You see these crazy things interwoven in there, And it's like, why were parents complaining? Because what, they had to go to the mall and buy a GI Joe tank that I wanted, or they couldn't find the Transformer that's why y'all were complaining. You weren't really mad because there were better lessons. And I still go back to, and I think you're saying the same thing. Who is the target audience for half this animated stuff? I just don't see it. I don't know what we're even doing stuff for. Now, I think Disney is cheating more now because now they've made stuff that are selling. It's done to sell figures, right? It's done to sell stuffed animals. There's no other reason. But some of the other stuff, I'm like, I don't even know what the target audience is. I mean, I get it. You guys, you adult men like it, but you're not buying your kid some $50 Gambit figure, are you? Because that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's definitely animation, man. Kids are going to be drawn to animation. But when I brought up the MCU, because, DC, they have some kid stuff here and there, but even their animated movies started to become more mature. They might got some kid stuff out there, man. I don't know. I don't pay attention anymore. But the MCU, all of their shows are live action. And I'm like, man, we grew up with a lot of superhero cartoons growing up. And, one of my ideas was, because, the Ultimate Universe is the one that I grew up with. I was like, why are we having they coming out with a new Spider-Man show, and it's animated, but it's animated in a real old style, which I don't know, fine, whatever. But I think a good way you could have started incorporating other characters like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, the mutants, was if you had did kind of like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends with Iceman and Firestar. But then there was an arc where Spider-Man was teamed up with Iceman and the Human Torch, and they were younger, but it was like teenage boys doing hero stuff together. I was like, why is that not a cartoon? For this, mostly boys are, they were the target audience. I'll say a lot of the time we'll have these cool like G.I. Joe. You mentioned G.I. Joe, and my favorite Ninja Turtles was the 2003 one where they had this action-packed intro with just getting boys hyped, and even Power Rangers, which definitely had their female characters in there. I never met a girl that liked Power Rangers growing up as a kid. It was mostly boys, but I'm sure they were there. But it's the guitar playing and the rock is getting you excited to fight evil. That's not happening anymore. But why are we not getting a young Spider-Man show with, again, you could have introduced Bobby Drake. We got a mutant, okay, and we have the Human Torch. So he's younger, kind of in this iteration, but there's a Fantastic Four member. And make all of them go to the special school. These are 2 other students at this school, and start to connect these characters and make their world more real. And then eventually you can attach it to the larger live action MCU or whatnot. Kids are...
They don't have any creative... Here, I can prove this to you. Let me show you what they've done. So are you familiar with this animated show called PJ Masks?
Yes.
Okay, so it's these 3 little kids. They put on their little pajamas, right? One's a cat, one's the owl, one's the gecko. Little powers. They go out and they fight crime, whatever. It's uber little kids. It's not a Disney product. They bought it. It's someone else made it, right? That's kind of its history now.
I did not know Disney bought it.
Well, it's on Disney Plus, so they're licensing it. If that makes sense. It was based on Ramuld Rakiapo. I have no idea who this person is. I could probably be butchering their name. It's produced by Frogbox and Entertainment One. This is France stuff all over it. So I don't know if it was originally done in France and who the original creators are in the English version, but it's on Disney Junior now. Okay. Fast forward to the Marvel version of this, which made my head hurt so bad. Yeah. So then this is Superman and his friends. This is the new Superman friends. This is Peter, Miles, and Ghost Spider.
I saw this. Yep.
It is exactly PJ Masks all over again with these cheesy, cheapy villains doing the exact same stuff. I literally tried to watch my grandson when we were at my son's house, and they started talking about this. My grandson's lecturing me about how good it is and whatever, and I'm like, dude, they literally have ripped off PJ Masks. They literally have just made it was the same formula, the same villain, the same cheekiness. They're not creative at all. There's no one there going, hey, listen, there was this 1970s version that had an Iceman, and this is how it was drawn. What zero interest. But if you put that 70s version on for these kids, their eyes get big, they get glued in. I test it on my grandkids when they're here. It is the best experience, and it just shows how hollow this stuff is, and exactly what you were saying.
Man, PJ, a lot of my students, of course, they had all of this stuff, and I try to stay in the know and what kids are like watching, because I'm working on a kid's comic book. I have to know what interests them, but I'm also taking from what interested me as a kid. I'm sure it translates over to current day. Kids are going to be kids, but like when I saw PJ Masks, it reminded me of the Powerpuff Girls. It's the same color scheme, it's the same like body types, and they're beating up bad guys. And I say it publicly. I'm not ashamed. Like Powerpuff Girls was arguably my favorite, definitely top 5 favorite cartoons. And I'm a boy watching this, but these girls was like knocking dudes' teeth out, like there were blood. They was putting them in body casts, like cool villains. You got the devil on there in a dress and some heels. Like people could argue maybe kids should have been watching that, but I was a Christian and I was like, that's the devil, that's the bad guy. That's all I needed to know. Like beat him up, Powerpuff Girls. So it was like, man, Fuzzy Lumpkins. Like my cousin, I have kinfolk last name Lumpkins, so I was like, those y'all's country tales right there. Those y'all's people getting beat up by the Powerpuff Girls on the screen. And I mean, Mojo Jojo, like that was, and this was Butch Hartman, Craig McCracken stuff. So they have a track record of amazing cartoons over into Gennady Tartakovsky's Primal. So it's like, that is a dude that he's one of my inspirations, because I'll say he would make like Samurai Jack. Like he was involved in those older cartoons, but then he evolved with the audience, and he made the Clone Wars, which everybody thinks is amazing, that short series, and then ends up making Primal. And there's another show about like some time travelers or something, I don't know, these reincarnated characters, but it's like that dude understands that the people that I was making content for back then have now gotten older. So now I'm making something that they can watch, as an adult. So you get Primal, which is a dude and a dinosaur, but at its core, it's a boy and his dog story, which people love those. I love those. So, yes, man, animation for sure. But I think it's a lack of creativity. But I'm going back to, the responsibility is on the adults to not just complain about these things, but to make alternatives and make sure that their children are seeing what we deem as the legit versions of these characters. Because if they're just left to be entertained by whatever is on, they're going to consume that stuff. They're going to love it. These live action Disney movies, there are people that actually love them. And it's just like, did you see the original? Like, what are you comparing this to? Or just that, man. So that's my gripe.
Is there an expiration date? I mean, because you've really checked. You're more checked out than I even am. But I just feel like there's sort of an expiration date on the ask, on how much money and how much stuff that they can do that I care about. Because I'm at this point now where like I don't pay for it, right? So I'm like, yep, I have a yacht club membership, and yeah, Alien Romulus, I'll watch it, and then I'm so mad and ticked off about it. I don't even do a video to rant about it, AJ.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even talked about it because I'm just like, I am so ticked that you thought this was a good idea. Because I don't ever have to watch it again. I'll just go watch the original too again. Like you're just proving to me you still are not changed. Nothing's changed out there. But there's so many decades of stuff to pull from: TV, movies, comic books, music. Keep going. I'm down the public domain rabbit hole too, because I was trying to be inspired of like, how could we get more classics to kids? I don't know. It's a rabbit hole. Don't know if it'll go anywhere for me, but I'm like, could we take, some Sherlock stories or classic literature and adapt them, in these anthropomorphic animals, or could we do little kids on a mystery like Scooby-Doo? These formulas that are timeless, they're always going to
for sure. Yep.
And could we do an adaptation of this classical thing? Because Little Einsteins was genius. Like it was like little kids talking about classical stuff, and it trained so many people on classical stuff. And I'm like, well, now what? Now what are we doing? And it seems like we're going to go through the next 10 years, and the amount of stuff that starts going into public domain is going to blow people's minds, because it's already started. Because it started with Steamboat Willie, right? That's where they made all the press. But fast forward 10, 15 years, you start looking at Superman, Batman, some of this other stuff, Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind. We're getting close, brother. This stuff's going to start looking in the public domain. And yeah, AI is a problem, sure. And also, a lot better, cooler stuff is out there for everyone else to enjoy, because you don't get to charge me money for it anymore.
Yeah,
I can just enjoy it. So yeah,
man. When you say the expert,
they're not really a clear question. I don't even know what I just. You got me going. I don't know.
No, as far as exploration, it kind of put me in the mind of, and I know our last conversation I was talking about the Looney Tunes. Really, I consumed a lot of Looney Tunes growing up. And it makes me want to, that's my inspiration for stuff I'm working on and where I want to go with my anthropomorphic animal stuff. But by the time I was born, Looney Tunes had been decades old. So I'm like, for that to hold up still in my childhood, and even today, I'll watch old Looney Tunes. Man, I don't, and you talking about you showing your grandkids the Hanna-Barbera stuff. Like, I don't think good stuff really has an expiration date. But Looney Tunes came out with a reboot. And of course they've had more than a few, but there was one that came out in the early 2000s. And it was when they had all of the Looney Tunes like living in a world. Like they were actually residents, as opposed to these wacky characters that would pull hijinks and antics on one another. And I was so opposed to it. And this was back when I was still in like school, like high school, I think. And I was so opposed to it because I'm like, they're not supposed to be living together. Like they're supposed to be smashing each other with anvils and pianos, and Yosemite's supposed to be shooting up stuff. But it grew on me. And it's funny because like some of the complaints that people will have about, we don't want strong female characters, or we accepted certain changes while we're not accepting these changes. What they did to Lola Bunny in that adaptation had me pissed, because she was smart. She was capable. She was better than the boys. I'm not going to say she's hot. Some could argue that. You know how I really feel about that, Pop, so we don't have to go into that. But she was that character, and to see in this adaptation, they made her like this dumb ditzy blonde that's just like chasing after Bugs when Bugs was the one chasing after her. I was like, nah, man, this is not right. This is not my Lola. Like, I hate this. Everything else about the show was amazing though. But like, yeah, man, this was before, they came out and talking about she was flat chested in the Looney Tunes, and people were upset about that. She wasn't sexy. I was like, man, y'all mad about that. I'm mad that they made her dumb years before this. So yeah, I don't know what got me on that, but like, adaptations and old stuff holding up. Definitely, man. Looney Tunes, a lot of older cartoons. I think if you put on for a kid, they're happy to be watching some cartoons, some wacky stuff. But going back to the past conversation, it's more valuable if the adult is there watching it and engaging in it with them, because I am here because of my father. He would make sure that, my dad's a big nerd. Video games, anime, cartoons, all that good stuff. I even remember, I have fond memories of us watching Discovery Channel and Animal Planet together. So my dad being involved in this stuff gives me more nostalgia, or more good feeling, more memories with this stuff that makes me hold it near and dear, as opposed to just something that was put on to entertain the kid. So yeah, man, I think the point of me saying that was the adults be involved in what your kids are consuming and educate them, be a part of that.
But we're going to try to put in some cartoons and some commercials, little segments, things like that along the way. So tell me what you guys think.
The most popular comic book in the world today is coming to life. Don't miss the premiere of X-Men Saturday, October 24th on Fox.
Journey into the mysterious alien world of Abydos through the Stargate. Daniel Jackson and Colonel O'Neill battle the evil Ra, but Ra strikes back with a sinister Horus in the wicked Wing Glider. Fire!
am Ra. You must obey me. No way!
Then Rosgard Anubis morphs into a jackal, attacks and captures Jackson. So O'Neill charges to the rescue in the ATC.
Fire!
O'Neill's got the glider in his sights.
And Ra's got trouble.
Stargate, gateway to the ultimate adventure. Figures and vehicles each sold separately.
The Powerpuff Girls superhero dolls with eye laser action.
We're the Powerpuff Girls.
Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Those oh-so-sassy superheroes with super blazing laser beams. Bad guys, brace yourselves for a blackout. No villain can outlast their atomic laser blast. You go, girls.
Prepare to get stung. Let's go save people and stuff. Move out.
Way to go, girls. You saved the day. Powerpuff Girls superhero dolls, each sold separately.
All right, now let's get back to the conversation. Did you know like 60 Looney Tunes are in public domain? There's like 60 little shorts. There's a ton of them. This is crazy.
Throw some out. Name some.
There are a lot from the 30s into the 40s, but I'm kind of scrolling. There's just so many. Porky Pig's Feet, Wackety Wabbit, 1943. Yankee Doodle Daffy, Falling Hair, 1943. A Tale of Two Kitties, 1942. A Daffy Duckaroo, 1942. The Sheepish Wolf, 1942. It's just there's so many of them that are already in public domain.
And I'm definitely going to assume that this was like the Steamboat Willie. This was the black and white stuff. So these were the versions of the characters before they fully became who they were.
Not in the 40s, though. Would it be? Would the 40s be that as well? Because I think the 40s would be a little bit more, a little closer to some.
I don't think so, but I don't honestly know.
Yeah, I think part of it too is stuff that was during wartime was part of it as well. Yeah, this is I think is in color. Yeah, this is color. This is during wartime. This is 1943 Falling Hair. Let me try to open it. You can see by the image.
Oh,
yeah.
No, that is.
That's 43. We go to there's Bugs. That one's in public domain.
Hey, but that's what I mean by like.
Now I think it's tricky using him because he's probably still licensed, but the cartoon itself could probably be, And again, I think this is where I'm going, where they're trying to keep so much control over this. They're not generating anything new. Some of the stuff that they're generating new doesn't really have an audience. It's just made for themselves, and they're definitely not catering to the wholesomeness element of what most people want for their kids. So most people will continue to check out like yourself and go, screw this. I'll just go to YouTube or I'll go to Tubi. I'll watch this crap that's out here. It's free. I know what I'm getting. I can sit here with my kid. I can watch it. That's what I do with the grandkids. It's just on right. Well, first off, I put in physical copies, so I know exactly what I'm dealing with. It's not like I'm going to let it stream and then roll into some other nonsense that I don't know about. I put in physical discs, but assume I don't have the physical disc. I can just go to a YouTube. And I will say we've done what you talked about earlier, where you find someone who's uploaded like 6 hours of Saturday morning cartoons from 1990. I found some, talking OG, older than me, like Mighty Mouse was in one. And anyway, my granddaughter loves Mighty Mouse. She was asking for Mighty Mouse. I got her down the rabbit hole with some other stuff I knew she would love, like Strawberry Shortcake. It's all the cliches, folks. Sorry to tell you. It's all the stuff that the girls like this one. The boy wants to watch G.I. Joe. That's what he wanted to watch, right? They'll both watch Wacky Racers and Jabberjaws, but they each have one. Yeah, so
I will definitely send you some of those channels that I watch, and the stuff that you've been naming is definitely what these channels upload. And I'll have it on, even if I'm not interested in the cartoon. I have it on in the background, like for the dogs. It does something for them. Like, my dogs are not really just sitting there just staring at the TV, but it's something on as opposed to them just listening to what's going on outside and like reacting.
UPS trucks and horns and barking and with you there too.
So instead of allowing them the time to react to those and practice bad habits, I'll throw that on, and again, it does something. But the way it works is they associate that sound with a feeling, with like an activity level and energy level. So at night, I'll cut on like the like Native American like flute music, or I'll put on some of these channels will be like chill video game music from like Donkey Kong or Zelda or something like that. I'll put that on at night, and in the daytime I put on cartoons because the cartoons are more action stuff's happening. So in the day their bodies are more, they're kind of up, but at night I want them totally relaxed, falling asleep, lullaby type stuff. So that's like my rotation of entertainment for the dogs.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's this next phase like for you now? Because you've gone through a lot of this stuff. There's still a lot of I'm sure recovery and sort of like figuring out kind of like what the new routines and stuff look like. Give everybody a little tease and kind of like how that kind of looks for you over the next few months to the into the next year.
Man, I didn't know if I was going to make it this far within the year because of bills, and again, man, this was a two person lifestyle, or things that's been acquired that one person is trying to hold up. So again, I didn't know I'd make it this far. I knew I'd be okay. I knew I'd make it, but I didn't think I'd be able to maintain what I have. So over the next few months, getting back to making consistent videos. I've been streaming more consistently, and that was a problem. Now I just got to get back to actually putting out videos, but actually working on my comic book stuff and getting those characters out and like more merchandise and was that passive income, man. Like I'm not, I'd be lying if I said I did this just to talk all the time. Like I'm trying to get an audience to sell some stuff to that I think would be worth people's money, but also to be an answer to the problem, a solution to the problem that we've been complaining about, and just seeing what I can do, what mark I can leave on the world before I leave here. I think I just heard a dog bark. With Jujitsu, man, it takes about 2 years just to get the next belt. So I just plan on just keep doing that, just keep on getting better until my instructors, my professors feel like I'm worthy of the next belt, or to be promoted. The YouTube, man, I think it's about time I got 1,000 subscribers. So I'm really like, okay, well, let me figure this out because I've been in the 700s for a long time. I don't know, man. What is that? Oh, the animals. So I'm doing my Caesar Milan contest. So I'm trying to win that to meet Caesar Milan and win some money. That's the guy that got me into dog training. I think most people think dog training is just like sit, bark, stay down, just boring stuff, man. But he was actually like addressing the dog behavior, the mind, the animal, and teaching a lot about communicating with nature. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that is what we're supposed to be doing. Not just giving them robotic commands and making them do it, but to be able to communicate and actually have a relationship with these creatures. Like, that's what I'm more interested in. So, man, that'll be a dream come true if that can happen. So that's what a lot of my energy is put into my dog channel as well. So bringing value to the people. That's something that I've talked about with you, is you and the homesteading and the farming stuff. Is like you're talking about the pop culture, but at the same time, you have this wealth of knowledge of that as well, that you will talk about like here and there. And I know you'll post stuff on other social medias. It's like, yeah, I think we need to be doing that as well. Sure, complain and pop culture and all of that, but that's just the entertainment side. What about the foundational skills that us humans need to live life and to prosper? Like, does anybody have any insight on that to bring to the people?
Agreed.
I think that's about it for me.
It's good though, man. That's good. So all the stuff's in the description, folks. You guys can check that out. Make sure. And he's like, 800's right. Like we're right at 800. So let's get that taken care of, and let's get to this. Keep the subscriber counts moving. Check into these live stream. Watch him completely stink at playing Sonic, according to the chat. I don't know. I'm not a good judge, but that's what they say. I don't know if he's good or not. I mean, take it from them. I don't know.
I thought I was great, man, but no, apparently I'm not, and I'll take that because from what I saw, I was embarrassed, man.
That's rough. That's rough. So anyway, I usually wrap with give you guys a chance to ask me a question real quick before we head out the door. Anything come to mind?
Man, what are your plans? Because you were just telling me about, like your Toy Story frame back there. So I know you archived a lot of history in this field, in this area. And I think you had said something about owning a comic book shop. Did you say that?
Yeah, I did that for a while. I've been doing more events. I'm not going to own an actual brick and mortar store again. I'm definitely not in
Okay.
that place right now, but I may do one next week. I'm finding out that if I'm down, I've tried to whittle the collection down and then try to focus on, if I decide to how to move it forward, selling stuff, just stuff. I want to sell stuff that I think is good. So yeah, comics, cards, the toys sold really well. I went to an event that's probably about an hour or so away from me, where it's like almost like a flea market / yard sale thing. It's really low cost to get set up. Had a great day. Sold a lot of toys. People are still into Funkos and stuff. I thought all that stuff was dead, so I was really happy to get rid of it for space reasons. But yeah, comics is really suffering. So if I do spend money, or I try to keep scaling this, but I do love that concept about like being that sort of like store on the go. I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep at that enough to make that really more than it already is. It's kind of been a side hustle for years. I don't know, other than just doing more events. My daughter is doing her little side business, so I've been trying to support her so she's not doing something alone, and she's getting support there. And it's kind of made me do that and be organized. It's been fun to go through and price everything and organize everything. It's impossible to stay up though. I don't know how people do it. I guess you just
Is
put
it
stuff on sale and hope that people get it. I don't know.
is it in the same realm of what you're doing, or she's doing something like totally different?
No, she makes jewelry, so she's very artistic and talented. She
Okay.
had like a photography background, but she's always been into crafts. So she hand makes jewelry, and she scaled that up into different kinds using faux leather, and now she's into like clay that she molds and bakes, and really beautiful stuff. And she's had really good luck with it. I don't know how she's going to scale it yet. That's on her. Kind of just trying to encourage her. For me, that's kind of my problem with doing the nerd stuff. Is I don't know how to scale it because people are only into the fads of the week. People are only into what's hot right this moment. I don't want to go out and drop $1,000 on these comic books, and that's not what anybody's into anymore. Now you're stuck, and that's kind of where a lot of my stuff is. I feel like it's not. I don't have anything like super people are ready to knock the door down, or it would have already sold. But I also don't have like garbage either. And I have like serious OCD when it comes to this stuff. So I'm not interested in buying people's collections to pilfer through a bunch of beat up and raggedy comics or cards. I'm not interested in it being a warehouse holding all this stuff. I'd rather give it to some kid. So my stuff's more like collector driven. But sports cards are just complete dead to me. I have no desire to spend any more money on sports cards because it is only about the fad of the day. I can't even give Hall of Fame players away. Like there's cards. I'm just like, I don't understand. Like I'm literally just don't understand. But I love doing it, brother. I love doing it. It's so much fun. It's not work at all for me.
Man, what about content with like the history of like a piece that you have or something, or like an era and things that might have come out?
I need to do more of that. I think the problem is I always feel like I can never do justice with the cameras. I have such crappy setup. I don't really have that kind of thing. But I probably could do more. Like you were talking about the Toy Story one. I don't think I've ever done anything on that. I've talked about a few things, but yeah, some of these are just, there's stories behind them. I think it's when my kids have had fun with me along the way because they've grown up with this, so they don't even realize some of this stuff's special. I know that sounds weird. Most people are like, wait, how close were you to Harrison Ford? Like, wait, how did you guys meet so-and-so? Like, yeah, it's just, but when you do press and you're doing events, you're doing Comic-Cons, you're doing stuff, this stuff just keeps happening. And my kids were like, yeah, it's what we do. It's what, we were at a concert. It was a Christian concert, I think. Yeah, Winter Jam. And I was gone. And I interviewed someone like on Thursday for that show. So the show was Saturday night. And he said, yeah, meet me over here. He just texted me back. Yeah, he took me backstage. He just took me back there. I'm back there. We're walking around with him. So I was gone for like, I don't know, a whole artist. And my daughter's like, where are you? I said, I'm back here with Dan Bremnes. That was his name. And he's like, what do you mean you're back there? What does that mean? And I'm like, yeah, I'm back. Oh, so when you're in that world, you kind of, this is why the press people get the way they are, why the journalists and reporters are the way they are, because they live in a different world than everybody else. All this stuff happens for them. And I'm small potatoes. I'm just some guy who does this on the side. It's never been like a full-time gig. I never sold my soul to join some sort of major publications or being told how to write or what to write. I always did my own thing. So I can imagine when they have credentials like the New York Times or ESPN or whatever, how special of a life they kind of live. And that's the reason why they don't want to give people bad press on certain things, because they're afraid all that's going to dry up. They're married to it. This is how they live. You know, it's beneath them to have to stand in the line like a normal person. Like they don't live like that. I've seen press guys. Oh man, this was funny. We went to a screening. Don't know the movie. He is a lowly, like the equivalent of like a UHF channel, right, on TV. I don't know in the cable area what that is, but it's not one of the major prime networks. It's one of the off networks. He's the host of the Saturday pop culture show. He threw a fit, made a scene because they were doing the pat down. Now, we as press don't normally ever get the pat down. We don't normally get it. They just let us go in. They know who we are. But this is some poor young girl. She was on security that day, and she didn't know who he was. How is she going to know? So he starts throwing a tantrum. That's how they act. And I'm like, it's a crazy different world. So I guess sharing more of those stories or things like that, what you think would be of interest?
Yeah, for sure. Going back in, again, man, there's the history of why we love the things that we do, and we feel so hurt and disrespected by seeing them change. And then, like for instance, when I remember the Little Mermaid situation when she was race swapped for the live action one, and you have people saying like, are grown men really complaining about a Little Mermaid girl? And I was like, we grew up with this story. I think that's pretty sexist for you to feel like a man can't care about a female protagonist's story, but at the same time, like, who do you think are making these things? Like, there's a bunch of grown men in these rooms that are making this childlike stuff that you claim grown men shouldn't have the capacity to care about. But you know, it's entertainment, but it's also like we're studying these things. People who really care about the craft and these mediums. It's like I said, I'm watching these child shows, these kid shows, to see what actually interests kids, because you know, this is me doing research. If I make something, I'm not going to make something for kids, but I'm speaking like an adult, and you know, I'm not appealing to them in any way. So you have to know what that target audience is into. So yeah, man, I'd love to, you know, check something out like that. Like I'll throw in a video of some Stan Lee or the history of this production company, or, you know, and what the ups and downs of what they went through and finding out, you know, like the financial troubles Walt Disney was in, but because he cared about it so much, same with like a Stan Lee, is like these guys at points didn't have the money, were like bankrupt, but cared so much about creating these characters and what they were doing, and knowing how much value that added to other people, kept fighting and ended up being in the positions that they were in, to where we're looking at them like, you know, like heroes. So that stuff's interesting to me, man. That stuff's interesting to people who care about this stuff. I mean, obviously, not everybody is just dumb TikTok brain and want to be entertained for the moment. Some of us actually want to know things. One more.
Well, I try to do a little bit of that, but maybe I just need to include some other stories and things that I don't really think about. You made me think about it a little bit more, because I know I've been invited to, in 2 weeks, do a little thing on Batman Day, because Batman Day is the 21st, and this person knows I'm a major Batman guy, and I need to do a little bit of that, because there's a couple of interesting comments on my I made a little video on the Cape Crusader animated Nightmare and how much I hated it, didn't really watch it all. And this person wrote these long theses about it, and we kind of agree to disagree about it. It was really a civil back and forth, but I think exactly what you're saying is where I'm at, like on the Batman thing. It's like, this is my thing. It's been my thing for decades, and it predates me by decades. For you guys to come along and you start changing things, and I'm the crazy person. Like, you're the one that changed it, not me. I don't understand, you know? So I think maybe doing some content that may have a little more history in some of those things, maybe just telling some of my story too. I've been trying to do that. Some of that stuff gets put behind the member wall for those folks as well. I do things like behind the scenes. That's where I usually will share photos of the grandkids and things like that. I try not to do a lot of that. I'm sure there's some of that are out there publicly, but usually they're behind for the members. So I had to do more of that. So it's a good idea, man. It's a good idea for sure.
All right, there was one more thing. The you were talking about your daughter's jewelry. I had a friend. He makes jewelry, and I had him to commission or ask him to make a piece for me, a Lion King piece, a Lion King necklace. So I was like, make it kind of tribal looking, but like have a color scheme with it. And I would love if, which he kind of stopped, and I don't know, every people have their journeys, but I would love to get a Lilo and Stitch piece. That's on my top 5 Disney movies, but like Stitch is blue and his surfboard is like, red and white and the little teal or whatever, but just like a color scheme and it'd be like a theme to it. Maybe that could inspire her or give her some ideas to add some more pieces to the collection. Man, I know a lot of these places like Pandora or what is it? The James Avery, whatnot. Like they'll have those collections like a Disney or some cartoon like character themed, like charms and whatnot.
I'll pass that along because she really discounted sports. She did these little they're just little ball earrings, and they were really kind of cute, very simple and small. And she sold out of a couple, and she was like, I said, where did all those go? And she didn't have any desire to make more of them because she'd kind of been doing other stuff. And I'm like, you don't understand. That stuff doesn't have an expiration date. There's always a soccer mom and a basketball mom and a football mom and this is the university that's over here. This is the university that's over there. That kind of stuff is sort of like perpetual in your market. That doesn't, you don't let that ever go away. So those kind of advice, like you said, you got to come up with the right kind of angle on it, but the color schemes are there. You're right. For a different type of like an orange, yellow, the right kind of shades for a Lion King without it being so overtly Disney, but it can be a nice accent for someone who wants to wear a Disney shirt, outfit, or dress or something.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah, I get it. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll pass that along. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, well, brother, it's been so good. We can't wait too long to do this again. We have to figure out how to do another episode for sure.
And we will. Maybe we'll do some farming stuff. Once I become a little older, get some experience, and I get my dream ranch property or whatnot, then
I'd have to get Mrs. Pops in here to talk all the serious stuff. I'm more of the farm. Okay. I'm a glorified farmhand because she's the one that's like, we got to have this and we got to have I'm learning through her because she's the deep diver into all this world, and she surprises me, man. I have to be honest. We're always juggling something because now we're in the middle of baby pigs and a couple turkeys, and so market's rough out there right now, but we're in it just to do it. So we're doing see how it goes. So
man, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, brother, thanks for everything, folks out there. You guys check out those links. Make sure you're subscribed to this guy. Spending time with him. Go watch him. Like I said, go watch him stink at Sonic. It's not my thing. I don't know if he's good or not. You guys have to tell me. Anyway, love this guy. I can't wait to have him back. You guys take care. Be blessed. Till next time. I am Pops.
Peace.